What's up, real estate fans? What are HOA fees? HOA is Homeowners Association. If you're part of a neighborhood in a single family home or even a condo, you might have to pay HOA fees. But what are they and what do they cover and why do you have to pay them? I answer those questions for you next in this video. I'm Stephen Kotobash and I'm a realtor located in the northern Atlanta area, and I get to help people buy and sell houses every day. So, what is a homeowners association? You might be asking. I've never heard of it, or maybe I have heard of it, but I really don't know what it is. Well, it's an organization within your community that sets rules and guidelines for the community. For example, if you have a shared space like a swimming pool or maybe a clubhouse or tennis courts, this party of people or group of people, they enforce the rules around those areas and they help to set up guidelines to properly maintain those areas. But guess what? It ain't free, right? It ain't free. It's going to cost you some money. In the United States, roughly 29% of us live in a community that has an HOA. So what are the benefits to an HOA? You might be asking, why in the world do I have to pay this extra money to this group of people that set these guidelines for my neighborhood, and I might not even like all of these guidelines? Well, first and foremost, the big thing is these guidelines and restrictions are in place to protect the integrity of the community. And most importantly, it helps to protect your investment. So you've got a personal investment in the community. When you buy a home, buy a condo, townhome, whatever it is, that's an asset for you. You've put your money into that community. So you want to make sure that it's maintained and kept up properly. Why is that? Well, let's say, for example, you get ready to sell one day. So if you have potential buyers cruising through the neighborhood, you want them to see the neighborhood as attractive and maintained, and that we have homeowners here that care about the community, so they've taken care of it and it'll present itself well to those buyers down the road whenever you do sell the property. But plus, while you're there, while you're living there, it's nice to have a community where the common grounds are maintained, and if, like I said earlier, swimming pools, tennis courts, whatever, all of that is taken care of as well. Like I said, it does cost some money for an HOA. And all of these communities, guys, are going to be different. Sometimes you've got to pay the HOA fee quarterly. Sometimes you pay it semi-annually. And sometimes you have to pay it yearly. It just completely depends. Hey, you know what? Do me a favor. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. Come on, please. Now, the amount of money that you have to pay also completely depends. For example, say you're in Florida in a condo on the beach and you've got a super nice pool, you've got super nice amenities, and expenses are going to be higher in a property like that in that location. You could have to pay upwards of $700 to $1,000 per month. It could be in a situation like that. Well, contrastingly, let's say you've got a community in Nebraska that is in the middle of Nebraska, not a lot around it. Maybe you've got a swimming pool in the community or whatever, and that's all you have. So maintenance costs and expenses are going to be relatively lower there. So you might only have an HOA fee of $50 for the month, $75 for the month, something like that. So it's going to depend on where you live and also what amenities exist, because if you have more amenities in a community, just remember, chances are your HOA fees, it's going to be a little bit higher. Keep in mind that HOAs do have the authority to levy what is called a special assessment fee. This is a fee that's extra, so it's in addition to the normal HOA fee that you might be paying each month or each year. What does this special assessment cover? I'll give you a great example. Say in the community the roads are in bad shape and they need to be resurfaced or repaved. The HOA can then, you have to hold a meeting for this and there has to be a vote and everything typically, but the HOA could approve a special assessment to cover paving the roads in the community. Or let's say there's another big project. Let's say, for example, you've got a clubhouse in your community and the roof is old. Let's say maybe you have some leaks, or maybe it's just time to replace the roof. That's a pretty big expense. So the neighbors in the community would each have to pay a special assessment to go toward taking care of that item in the community that needs to be addressed. So you might be thinking, what happens if I can't pay my HOA fee? Or maybe you don't want to pay it for some reason, which I don't encourage that. But let's say, for example, something happens and you can't pay. Well, first of all, have some open dialogue with the HOA. And let's say you're struggling, having a rough patch of a few months or whatever, and say, hey, look, can you put me on a payment plan? Sometimes they will agree to put you on a payment plan so you can pay a little here and there to get caught up. Well, let's say, for example, you don't want to pay, or you have a really bad hardship and just can't pay. The HOA can impose a lien against your property. So I won't go a lot into liens in this video, but if they impose a lien on your property, then they're essentially saying, look, you owe us money. Say it's $500. You owe us $500, and when you want to sell that property one day and that lien exists, you have to pay that lien in order to sell your property. So they're going to get their money eventually. So just make sure you pay your HOA fees. It's just not a fun experience if you get into a situation where you're not paying. So pay up. For my clients that are buying into a community with an HOA, I always make sure that they understand what the HOA fee is every year. And also, we'll look at the covenants to the HOA. So that's a document that addresses everything that the HOA covers, what they maintain for you, and it also talks about restrictions that may be within the community. Because here's the deal, as a buyer, if you're going to buy into a community that has an HOA, I want you to understand what you're buying into, because there could be some restrictions in place that you don't agree with. Let's say, for example, you're a big farm person. Let's say you have some chickens or some pigs or whatever. The HOA that the neighborhood you're moving into could have an HOA that says, hey, you can't have any farm animals here. So that would probably be a deal breaker for one of my clients. So I want to make sure that you guys get the point here, and it's that make sure you ask a lot of questions about the HOA. One big question you want to look at regarding the HOA is, how often in the past have they increased the fee? Because the board has the authority. Once again, I know they have to meet and vote on it, but they could raise the HOA fee next year, and they could do it again the next year, or they could do it 5 years from now. So it's a good idea to ask and just look back at history to see how often they raise the fee, because that could give you an idea of a projection moving forward regarding what you could be looking at in terms of increased fees. Another good question to ask is, how often do they pose special assessments? Some HOAs, they love to get a little bit crazy, y'all. They get a little bit crazy with assessments, and they're assessing you here and there, and it just seems like every time you turn around, there's an assessment. So make sure you ask about that as well, because those can add up. And I will say that assessments in general, from my experience and what I've seen, assessments are pretty minimal in most communities. Most communities they are, but it's always important to ask about it, just because from a cash flow standpoint for you, you're not caught off guard. Like everything in real estate, there are positives and negatives with an HOA. So you've got to take a look at your situation and how you like to live and figure out if an HOA is okay for you and your situation or not. And so hang on, before you jump off my channel, do me a favor, check out another video that I've created here where I talk about your home down payment. So you're buying a new house and you've got a down payment. What does that need to look like from a percentage standpoint? What are the pros and cons of putting down too much, too little? I go into those details in this video, so before you go anywhere, check that one out next. In this video, I hope I did a good job of helping you understand the basics of an HOA, what it does, what those expenses look like, and why you have to pay them. In general, it's typically a good thing because it protects your investment. And if there's something you can contribute to, like an HOA that helps protect your investment it's good for you in the long run. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you on the next one.